On April 17, 2010, an autumn Saturday with partly cloudy skies and mild temperatures, the couple Marcelo Augusto Pereira, 32 years old, and Fernanda Lima Santos, 28 years old, went for a trail in the northern region of Santa Catarina Island, Florianópolis. The chosen route was the famous path that connects Santinho Beach to Mozambique Beach, a trail of approximately 3.8 kilometers, which winds through the vegetation of Restinga and Atlantic forest, with sections of moderate altitude and stunning views of the Atlantic Ocean. Marcelo, a civil engineer from Curitiba, and Fernanda, a biology teacher born in Porto Alegre, had moved to Florianópolis just 8 months earlier, attracted by the island's quality of life and lush nature. The couple lived in a rented apartment in the Ingleses neighborhood and were celebrating their 5th dating anniversary that weekend. Both were ecotourism enthusiasts and had already hiked several trails in the region, always recording their adventures on a blog they maintained together. According to the couple's last digital record, a photo posted at 9:43 on the Trilhas do Sol blog, Marcelo and Fernanda started the walk around 8:30. They wore light clothing suitable for the trail. He's wearing beige cargo shorts, a blue t-shirt, and trail running shoes. She is wearing black leggings, a white t-shirt, and a red cap. They carried a backpack with water, fruit, cereal bars, sunscreen, insect repellent, and a small digital camera. The couple's last communication was a text message sent by Fernanda to her sister, Carolina Santos, at 11:17. "We are at an incredible point on the trail. Wonderful view. We should reach Mozambique Beach in an hour. We'll send you photos later." This would be the last time anyone would hear of the two's whereabouts. The alarm about the disappearance was only raised the following morning, when the couple failed to show up for a family lunch scheduled for 1 p.m. Sunday at the home of Marcelo's parents, who were visiting Florianópolis. After several unsuccessful attempts to contact them, the family filed a police report at the civil police station at 6:23 p.m. that Sunday. The Santa Catarina Fire Department, with support from the military police and local community volunteers, immediately began searching the trail area. In the first 48 hours, more than 50 people were involved in the operations, using sniffer dogs, drones, and teams specialized in rescue in dense forest. Weather conditions, initially favorable, changed drastically on Sunday night into Monday, with heavy rain significantly hampering search efforts. "It seemed like nature was conspiring against us," reported Captain Ricardo Mendez of the fire department, who led the initial operations. "The rain erased many traces that could have given us clues about the couple's route, and the mud made access to several sections of the trail difficult." The couple's vehicle, a black 2009 Ford EcoSport, was found parked at the start of the trail, at the access point near Santinho Beach. Inside the car were both of their identity documents, which indicated that they really only intended to do the trail and return the same day. The cell phones were not in the vehicle, presumably taken for the hike. If you want to follow more cases like this, which shake up society as a whole and reveal hidden truths, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any investigations. Intensive searches for the first 5 days resulted in little progress. On April 22, 2010, civil police investigators found a water bottle with Marcelo's fingerprints on it approximately 2.1 kilometers from the trailhead, on an unofficial detour that led to a denser area of the Atlantic forest. This finding redirected searches to this region, less frequented by tourists. The investigation began working with 3 main hypotheses: an accident on the trail, with no possibility of rescue or communication, a crime against the couple, or voluntary escape for unknown reasons. This last hypothesis, although less likely due to the couple's history and the absence of apparent financial or family problems, was not ruled out in the initial stages. "We work with all possibilities in missing persons cases," explained Chief Luia Ferreira, who is responsible for the case. We have to investigate everything from a possible accident to more complex situations, such as a crime or even the remote possibility of voluntary disappearance. The couple's bank accounts were thoroughly analyzed and found no suspicious activity. The last withdrawals had been made 2 days before the disappearance in amounts compatible with everyday expenses. The credit cards were not used after the disappearance. Social media was also investigated without any evidence of travel plans or any situation that could explain a voluntary departure. On May 5, 2010, daily official searches were suspended, although spot operations continued to be carried out whenever new information emerged. The local community, especially groups of hikers and environmentalists, organized voluntary searches on weekends for the following months. The case gained prominence in the national media, appearing on programs such as Linha Direita and Fantastico, as well as special reports in newspapers and magazines. The family created a Facebook page called Find Marcelo and Fernanda, which quickly amassed over 30,000 followers. Posters with photos of the couple were spread throughout Florianópolis and neighboring cities. Contradictory information began to emerge throughout the investigation. A witness reported seeing the couple boarding a boat at Santinho Beach around 2 p.m. that Saturday. Information that was not confirmed after analysis of security cameras in the area. Another person claimed to have seen them in a restaurant in Lagoa da Conceição on the night of their disappearance, but images from the establishment did not corroborate the report. In August 2010, a new trail emerged when a local resident found a camera damaged by exposure to the elements in a wooded area. A PPROX IMATELY 500 meters from the official trail route. The experts managed to partially recover the memory card, which contained photos of the couple that day, with the last recording made at 12:04, showing Fernanda in front of a rock formation not immediately identified by investigators. That photo gave us a more precise direction, recalled forensic scientist Andre Souza. The rock formation had specific characteristics that allowed us to narrow the search area, but we were still talking about a region of dense forest and difficult access. Detailed analysis of the last photograph, compared with topographic maps and satellite imagery, indicated that the couple had strayed significantly from the main trail, entering an area known locally as the Corvo Forest, a region with deep ravines and extremely dense vegetation. New searches were organized in this area in September 2010, but without conclusive results. One element that caught the investigators' attention was the absence of cell phone signals. None of the devices were located, and there were no records of attempted calls or messages after the last contact at 11:17. The telephone company confirmed that the devices stopped emitting signals at approximately 12:30 that Saturday, possibly due to discharged batteries or entering an area without coverage. One hypothesis that gained traction was that the couple could have suffered an accident in one of the numerous crevices and natural cavities in the region, places difficult to access even for specialized rescue teams. The rugged topography, with steep slopes and vegetation that could easily obscure geographical features, made the theory of a fatal fall in a remote area plausible. In January 2011, after nearly 9 months of investigation, the case was officially classified as a disappearance, under unclear circumstances, remaining open for further information. The family, dissatisfied with the lack of answers, hired a private investigator, Carlos Mendonça, a former federal police officer with experience in missing persons cases. "We never gave up on finding them," said Maria Helena Pereira, Marcelo's mother, in an interview at the time. "Every day without news is a new day of agony, but also of hope. We need answers. We need to know what happened to our son and to Fernanda." The following years were marked by periods of intensification and cooling of investigations. At specific moments, such as on the 1-year anniversary of the disappearance, new searches were organized, often with the support of more advanced technologies that emerged. In April 2012, a team from the National Center for Missing Persons brought drones equipped with thermal cameras, a technology still in its infancy in Brazil at the time, to fly over areas of the forest that had not been fully searched. In 2013, the case gained new momentum when a geological mapping project by UFS, the Federal University of Santa Catarina, began cataloging rock formations and caves in the northern region of the island. The team of geologists and speleologists, led by Professor Dr. Antonio Cardoso, was aware of the case and was alert to any signs that could be related to the couple's disappearance. It was impossible to work in that region without thinking about the case, Professor Cardoso reported in a later statement. We always kept in mind that we might find some evidence, and all team members were instructed on what to do if that happened. On July 19, 2013, the team located a partially deteriorated backpack in a crevice between rocks, approximately 800 meters from the main trail. Subsequent analysis confirmed that it was the backpack the couple were carrying on the day they disappeared, identified by a personalized keychain with a photo of the two, a birthday present from Fernanda to Marcelo. The contents were severely damaged by exposure to weather and humidity, but remnants of food packaging and a bottle of sunscreen with Fernanda's name written in pen were also recovered. This finding revived hopes of solving the case and prompted new searches in the surrounding area. During these operations, on July 23rd, a men's sneaker was found that matched the model worn by Marcelo on the day of his disappearance, approximately 150 meters from where the backpack had been located towards an even denser area of the forest. Those findings gave us a more precise direction, explained Chief Roberto Almeida, who took over the case in 2012 after Chief Luia Ferreira was transferred. It was as if we were following a trail of breadcrumbs, but 3 years late, and after numerous storms that had erased many of the traces. The newly identified area was known to local residents as Grota Funda, a set of deep ravines and peculiar rock formations, with several natural cavities and centuries-old tree trunks. The extremely dense vegetation and rugged terrain made the region particularly dangerous and difficult to access, especially for people unfamiliar with its peculiarities. In 2014, Marcelo's parents and Fernanda's sister created the Brazilian Association of Relatives and Friends of Missing Persons on Trails and Natural Areas, ABFADN, with the goal of helping other families in similar situations and lobbying for improvements in public search and rescue policies in natural areas. The association began promoting awareness campaigns about trail safety and the importance of proper registration before starting hikes in remote areas. We transform our pain into action, said Carolina Santos, Fernanda's sister, during the association's launch. We don't want other families to go through what we are going through. The lack of clear protocols and adequate structure for searches in natural areas is a serious problem in Brazil. Scent hits. In 2015, 5 years after the disappearance, the case was included in an FBI pilot program, which offered technological and methodological support for disappearance cases in natural areas around the world. American experts visited Florianópolis and analyzed all the material collected to date. In addition to conducting new scans of the area with advanced ground-penetrating radar equipment, leave a comment and never give up on the truth if you believe all missing people deserve to be found. A significant discovery occurred on March 3, 2017, when a high-intensity storm hit the north of the island, causing landslides and changes to the region's landscape. A group of researchers studying the environmental impacts of the climate event found, among the debris swept away by the flood, a women's wristwatch that was later identified as belonging to Fernanda. The object was almost 2 kilometers from the last point where evidence of the couple had been found, suggesting that water or some animal could have transported the item over the years. In September 2018, Fernanda's sister received an anonymous email informing her that the couple had been ambushed by drug traffickers who were using the area to grow marijuana. The report, immediately forwarded to the authorities, led to a police operation that resulted in the arrest of 3 people for drug trafficking, but did not produce concrete evidence of any connection to the disappearance. The suspects denied any involvement in the case, and DNA tests found no matches between them and the biological material collected from the couple's belongings. In 2019, an independent documentary titled Lost Traces: The Mystery of the Saints Trail revived public interest in the case. The production, directed by filmmaker Daniel Mendes, gathered testimonies from family members, investigators, and experts, as well as exploring theories about what could have happened to the couple. The documentary won an award at the Gramado Film Festival and was shown on streaming channels, keeping the case alive and pushing for new investigations. The year 2020 marked a decade of disappearances, and the COVID-19 pandemic significantly reduced in-person investigative activities. However, data analysis and evidence review work continued to be carried out remotely. It was during this period that a team of computer scientists from UFS developed an artificial intelligence-based mapping algorithm that analyzed historical satellite images of the region to identify possible anomalies or changes in the landscape that might go unnoticed by the human eye. We use technology similar to that used in digital archaeology, explained D. Patricia Oliveira, project coordinator. The algorithm can detect subtle patterns of change in vegetation, soil, or rock formations over time, which may indicate human intervention or significant natural events. In December 2020, the algorithm identified an area in the Deep Grotto region where a significant change in vegetation density had occurred between May and June 2010, just a few weeks after the couple disappeared. The change had not been previously noticed because it was in a particularly remote area and difficult to see, even in conventional aerial images. With the easing of the pandemic in 2021 and the gradual resumption of in-person activities, a team composed of police officers, scientists, and volunteers from TAN's ABFA organized an expedition to the area identified by the algorithm. On March 14, 2021, almost 11 years after the disappearance, the team arrived at the site, a small natural clearing surrounded by dense vegetation and dominated by a fallen century-old tree, a huge Jequitaba tree, approximately 25 meters long and width, a trunk over 2 meters in diameter. It was a stunning, almost mystical scene, described João Paulo Silveira, a biologist on the team. The fallen Jequitaba created a kind of natural bridge over a deep ravine, and its hollow trunk looked like a tunnel, carved by nature itself. A detailed investigation of the area revealed signs of a possible ancient landslide near the fallen tree. The investigators' initial hypothesis was that the couple might have been surprised by a landslide while exploring the region, possibly seeking shelter inside the hollow trunk, or being dragged inside by the force of the earth and water. On March 17, 2021, during a thorough analysis of the hollow trunk, forensic technician Rodrigo Campos made the discovery that would change the course of the investigation. A small metal object that, after cleaning, turned out to be a wedding ring with the inscription EMAF Forever. The jewelry was immediately identified by the family as belonging to Marcelo, an engagement gift given by Fernanda a few months before her disappearance. This find prompted an even more detailed operation, supported by specialized equipment, including using micro-cameras and sensors. The team began a systematic exploration of the trunk's interior, which stretched for over 15 meters, with numerous cavities and recesses. The meticulous work resulted on March 23, 2021, in the discovery everyone had feared and hoped for: human skeletal remains. It was a moment of profound emotion reported Chief Inspector Roberto Almeida. There was a mixture of sadness at the confirmation of their worst fears and, at the same time, a feeling that we could finally offer some kind of answer and comfort to the families. The remains were in a cavity in the deepest part of the trunk, approximately 12 meters from the main entrance, in an area that was partially submerged during periods of heavy rain. The position of the bones suggested that the bodies had been dragged by water and sediment over the years, accumulating in that particular cavity. Initial forensic examination at the site identified tissue remains next to the bones, consistent with the descriptions of the clothing the couple were wearing on the day they disappeared. Fragments were also recovered. A men's watch, similar to the one worn by Marcelo, and small personal items, including a half-wing pendant that Carolina confirmed was a gift from her to her sister, Fernanda, for her 25th birthday. The remains were carefully removed and sent to the Florianópolis Forensic Medical Institute for detailed analysis. On April 30th, 2021, DNA tests officially confirmed that the skeletal remains belonged to Marcelo Augusto Pereira and Fernanda Lima Santos. After 11 years of anguish and uncertainty, the families finally had confirmation that, although painful, ended the cycle of speculation and searches. The forensic anthropological analysis, conducted by Dr. Eliza Menezes, a forensic anthropology specialist at the University of São Paulo, brought important revelations about what possibly happened to the couple. The bones showed no signs of fractures or direct impact injuries that could indicate violence. However, marks were identified on the long bones consistent with crush injuries, possibly caused by pressure from earth and debris. The findings are consistent with the hypothesis that the couple were victims of a landslide, explained Dr. Menezes in her report. The marks on the bones suggest that there was significant compression, likely caused by soil and other materials pressing them against the inside of the trunk. The most likely reconstruction of events, based on physical evidence and terrain analysis, indicates that Marcelo and Fernanda ventured off the official trail, possibly attracted by the rock formation seen in the last recovered photo. While exploring the deep cave region, they were reportedly surprised by a landslide, a common phenomenon in the area during periods of heavy rain, such as those recorded that weekend. Seeking protection, the couple took shelter inside the hollow trunk of the fallen jequitaba tree. But a second landslide, possibly occurring during the strong storm recorded on the night of Saturday to Sunday, would have partially blocked the exit and caused water and mud to infiltrate into the cavity. With no possibility of escape and no cell phone signal in the remote region, they would have succumbed to exhaustion, hypothermia, or asphyxiation. It's a tragedy that could have happened to anyone who ventured off the marked trails without adequate knowledge of the terrain, commented environmental guide Jose Carlos Ferreira, an expert on trails in the region. That particular area is known for its instability, especially after periods of rain. On May 15, 2021, after the release of the remains, the families held a joint farewell ceremony at the Florianópolis Municipal Cemetery. The event, which brought together hundreds of people, including friends, family, and community members who participated in the search over the years, was marked by emotional tributes and a sense of closure to a painful chapter. Finally, we can say goodbye and begin our grieving process with some peace, said Maria Helena Pereira, Marcelo's mother, during the ceremony. 11 years waiting for answers, imagining 1,000 different scenarios. And now we know it was a tragic accident. This doesn't lessen our pain, but it brings some comfort, knowing they were together in the end. The Marcelo and Fernanda case brought important changes to safety on trails and natural areas in Florianópolis and other regions of Brazil. In June 2021, the Florianópolis City Council approved the Marcelo and Fernanda Law, which establishes strict protocols for mapping, signage, and monitoring ecological trails, in addition to creating a mandatory registration system for hikers in areas considered at risk. Among the measures implemented are the installation of information signs with detailed maps and warnings about specific risks, the creation of registration stations at the beginning of the most popular trails, the implementation of a specific weather alert system for natural areas, and the formation of a permanent rescue team specialized in search and rescue in dense forests. A.B. Fadtown, created by the couple's families, it expanded its operations nationwide, offering support to families of missing people in natural areas and promoting educational campaigns on trail safety. In partnership with universities and public agencies, the association developed a geolocation app that allows hikers to record their route and issue automatic alerts in case of significant deviations or failure to return within the expected time. Marcelo and Fernanda's legacy is the protection of other lives, said Carolina Santos, Fernanda's sister and current president of Abafaditan. Each new safety measure, each hiker who prepares properly before a hike, each family that receives adequate support during searches, all of this honors their memory and gives some meaning to the tragedy we are experiencing. The documentary Lost Traces gained a sequel in 2022 titled Found Traces: The Outcome of the Saints Trail, which documents the entire process of discovering and identifying the remains, as well as addressing the changes promoted as a result of the case. The production received the award for Best Documentary at the International Environmental Film Festival. The Jequitaba Centenario, where the bodies were found, it was preserved and transformed into a natural memorial, with a discreet plaque telling the couple's story and warning about the dangers of unofficial trails. The site, now easily accessible via a safe and well-marked trail, has become a point of reflection for hikers and environmentalists. If you've watched this far, it's because you care about these cases that mark families forever. Leave a comment saying, "I watched this far so I can get to know you and know who truly cares about the search for truth." Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. To follow more stories of real cases that shook Brazil, leave your like and share with friends who are also interested in investigations and mysteries finally solved. The story of Marcelo and Fernanda reminds us of the fragility of life and the grandeur of nature, but also of the power of perseverance and family love, which never gave up on seeking answers. As Carolina Santos said at the farewell ceremony, they were lost in the nature they loved so much, but they were never lost in our hearts. And now they have finally found their way back home. M.